thoughts on Iowa?
First, backing up, I thought we had a really good effort Sunday against Wisconsin, and so we need to take that momentum going into this week. We don't need to tell anybody in the wrestling world how big the Cyhawk opportunity is for both schools. So, I made a comment Sunday afternoon, I think post-match, that when you put two really good products together, you get a big-time dual meet, and I think that's what is going to happen Sunday. And so it's going to be on a big stage. I know the state of Iowa is excited about it. Our guys are excited about it. Coach Brand's guys are going to be excited about it. So it should be a really fun weekend.
There's always something unique, and it feels like one unique aspect of this one is you've got a guy who was in their room last year, and they've got guys that were in other Big 12 teams' rooms last year as well for a Cyhawk meet. Is that
that's the culture of Division I sports, and I think football is going to get ready to experience it here. I saw something about their portal opens up in 11 or 12 days, and so I think the chaos that they're going to see is probably going to be unprecedented. And we saw it last year with wrestling. So you're going to see that every year now, whether we like it or not. You're going to see a lot of people wearing different colors. It's not going to be unusual for kids to wrestle two different schools in a lot of places. So that's the way it is. All I know is we're excited about our lineup, and I'm sure they're excited about their lineup.
You mentioned that the Cyhawk duel always has a level of gravitas to it. Does this year's feel different in any way?
What was that word you used? Gravitas?
Gravitas.
That's way above my pay grade. I guess that means excitement, right?
Yeah. Grandiose.
Grandiose, yeah. All right. I definitely think probably as we've gotten better, and I knew when I say when I got hired and our coaching staff got hired, I knew what the charge was. And let's face it, if you're in the state of Iowa, it doesn't matter if you're wrestling, playing football, basketball, whatever. One of the big checklist items is to beat the other school, and so we know what that is, and they know what that is. So it's gonna be fun.
Last time they were here was kind of a circus. What do you remember from that one, and do you anticipate any more antics? Well, you got national TV.
I think that last one in terms of the wrestling was a good dual meet, but they were a little bit better than us. I mean, they beat us fair and square. We just weren't quite there. I mean, there were some contested matches. I think it was 6-4 maybe in matches. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it wasn't like it was the last two times in Iowa City. It's been really close the last two times in Iowa City. But last time it was here, I think we wrestled good. We probably just weren't quite there yet for them, because I think they finished second in the nation that year. Obviously, the after party was the excitement. So we hope we can keep everybody corralled this year.
Does that kind of just speak to the passion that both you and the Brands brothers have?
Yeah, heck, I've known those guys. I helped recruit Tom and Terry Brands at the University of Iowa way back in the late 80s. So, there's not two more guys out there in the whole wrestling world that are more passionate about winning. So, we know that they're going to be ready. Their staff is going to be ready. That's just the way they are. I mean, I've seen them fight over Monopoly and run down the street after they've lost with their clothes off, and so that's just the way they are. They're just wired to win, and they like to win. And when they don't win, they're not happy. And I like the competitive nature of that. So let the circus begin, I guess.
Was this last weekend Kyson Terrakina's best match that you've seen him wrestle?
I think so. I think it's a good observation. I think he's made strides. I think, again, being a little bit repetitive to what I said on Sunday, he's really dialed in outside of everything, outside of the practice room. And, of course, they always spend so much more time there than they do with us. So if you mess that up, it's really hard to be consistent and perform. So, that's what we're looking for out of him, is he's really got to stay the course, because, man, that dude can wrestle. I mean, anybody that watched that match, if that guy shows up in March, he's going to be a threat. It's his job and our job to make sure we try to keep him as consistent as possible. But he's fun to watch, man. He's got a tough competitor against Iowa, so I'm sure on paper they think they're going to win that. On paper we think they're going to win that, but that's just going to be one of many that's going to have that theme.
How has Chum impressed you since he's been back for a couple of matches, and then of course Feldkamp makes his debut?
Chum, high energy. Loves wrestling so much, and you can see it. You know, that's all he thinks about. That's all he wants to do. You know, if you stick around and watch him practice today, he practices. Both him and Feld Camp wrestle so darn hard, and that's what's refreshing about those guys. They just wrestle so darn hard. You know, and if you grab them as a partner, you're gonna get a great workout in. You know, Chittum's a freshman. He's going to make some mistakes. He's got to figure out some things. But I can tell you this, he's excited. I mean, there's probably not many times after this year that guy's going to be the underdog, and he's a pretty strong underdog this Sunday.
Anthony Etchemendia looked good at 141. Obviously, he's got real Woods this weekend. What are you looking for out of him?
Well, again, another situation where we're going to be an underdog, and it's an opportunity. I mean, you get to wrestle the number 1 ranked guy in the nation. How many times you get to do that? You're lucky to do that once a year. So we get to do it at least once a year, so we're excited about that.
David gets a second straight top 5 matchup, wins the first one. Is he just building the way you expect for a guy that's as experienced and as decorated and as dedicated as he's been?
Yes, no problem putting David out there against anybody at any time. I mean, he's just really, you know, he gets himself ready for those big matches. I mean, we had a run this morning, and man, you can tell he's dialed in right now, and he was last week too. So he'll be ready to go Sunday. I know that.
How can you tell a wrestler's dialed in from a run?
Just how hard they run, you know, and how much they exhaust themselves, you know, kind of relative to other runs. Mm-hmm. So you know, what did you do in the last 5 runs, and what'd your 6th run look like? So you know, I felt like he just really was, you know, pushed it more than he normally does, and he usually pushes it really hard.
How appreciative of you of what both fan bases always bring to this duel. It's always intense, of course, on the mat, but you know, you can't. You know, you've been a part of both fan bases.
Yeah, I mean, you just love the passion of it. I mean, shoot, Iowa's been good for 40 some years now, ever since Coach Gable took over. That tradition hasn't wavered much. I mean, it's been a top 5 program forever and ever and ever. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Iowa State's had some ups and downs, had some great ups and had some downs. And you know, I think this staff has got us back to you know, making this a really, really fun, competitive dual meet, and you know, that's what we get to do in a couple days.
Casey Swiderski, you mentioned last week, had his best couple weeks of training, practice, went out on the mat, looked good. He gets a top 10 opponent, Victor Vinovich, this weekend. Has he forced your hand to wrestle him? Like, this is a guy we have to get out there.
Well, I think you always try to figure out a way to put your best lineup on the mat. And, you know, Etchemendia came to us and said, hey, you know what? I certified at 41. I mean, even when he was wrestling off preseason, the guy would come out of practice at 45, 46 every day. He was within 4 or 5 pounds all the time. So he's the one they wanted to wrestle off and came in and said, you know, we got to get Casey in the lineup. And so, you know, we got to still kind of give some other those guys a chance at 41 just to challenge. But right now, Anthony's definitely separated himself, and, you know, we've got the lineup we need for the next 2 big events.
How have you seen these guys really emotionally preparing for this big weekend, and really how do you keep them honed in to stay focused?
Well, it's only Tuesday, so we got some more honing to do. Really, you know, we gotta really make sure we finish this week out well training. You know, I'm a coach, and you win and lose in the practice room, and so we got to have 4 or 5 good days if we want to win this weekend. If we do that, we got a really good shot. I'm sure they think the same thing. If they have a great week of practice, they're going to have a really good shot. So I think you're probably on paper looking at, you know, probably one of the closest dual meets on paper that's been, you know, probably as long as that I've been here.
Mm-hmm. You threw MJ Gaitan out there last year in the Cyhawk duel. This year, Iowa looks like they'll probably be throwing out a true freshman against MJ. What are you looking for out of that matchup? Obviously, Gabe Arnold has a lot of accolades.
Well, that's a big match. I mean, I saw that guy got, Big Ten Wrestler of the Week, so he's going to have some momentum going in. But I'll tell you what, don't ever count out MJ Gaitan, because he's going to be ready for that match. He's excited for that match. So, you know, that guy better come ready, and because we're going to come ready, and I think it's going to be a heck of a match.
You mentioned just a little bit ago how close on paper this dual mate could be. How important are bonus points going to be? There's a few weights where, like, okay, that could be bonus points, that could be bonus points. Where do you see them?
They could be important. They really could be. You know, I think, and I think it's easier to get bonus points, a lot easier than it was last year. I mean, I think you saw Kyson Terrakina go out there and he got a little bit of momentum, and I think he could smell the bonus points a lot. You can smell them a lot easier if you're out there competing than you could before. You know, hey, maybe I push and get 2 more takedowns and I got a bonus, where last year it would have been really hard to bonus that guy.
talk about the significance of not only ESPN broadcasting this duel, but really the way they're stepping up for the sport as a whole. I mean, today the graphic said, what was it, 200, I think, events are going to be on ESPN. Talk about what that means for the sport, and especially for you guys to be the first.
Yeah, I just think that's a testament to the history of Iowa and Iowa State and how important wrestling is in Iowa. So, I mean, I think it's very fitting that that's where they start. I mean, if you look at the history of both of these programs going back, almost 100 years now, ESPN did a good job. They started in the right place, and they I know the crew that they've got this weekend coming in with Jordan Burroughs and Gibbons and whoever else they got coming in is going to be a heck of a crew. All right.